time. Est-ce que tu fais la tête?
Okay, can you shut up? I'm gonna do the intro.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Queer, Black, and Awkward. I'm your host, Orion, and on today's podcast, I have with me Reuben. You can introduce yourself.
Oh shit. Okay. Hi, my name is Reuben. What do you want me to say?
Introduce yourself, anything you want.
My last hours, shit. Okay. Well, my name is Reuben, and I currently have come back from France. I was in Bayonne and Bordeaux for about almost a year. Before that, I was in Montreal for about 3 years, and before that was Toronto. So I am an Anglophone with a love for French. I am also a cis male, and I am gay. And I've never been in a relationship. Just saying, for anyone out there who's interested.
No one's interested.
What the fuck? That's
Nobody wants you.
I wouldn't doubt it. The facts have spoken. The stats.
The facts are facts.
Stats are facts. Hashtag that.
So on today's episode, we will be talking about, since he has been traveling this past year or whatever, how long, 10 months, year? I don't know.
Yeah.
How long?
Well, living abroad and traveling.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that, like traveling and living in another country while you are gay. You have something in your hair. While you are gay.
Y'all should have done this. Where was the makeup? Like, there's no makeup, there's nothing, no preparation. Like, the fuck.
Thank you very much. So we're going to be talking about traveling and living abroad while you're gay and black.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you guys are not watching on YouTube, he is black, although he sounds white.
Screaming.
So we're going to be talking.
I don't sound white. What does that mean? Okay, problematic, hashtag.
It's called a joke. Okay? It's called sarcasm. Get with the program.
Rude.
So, before we dive into today's topic, I'm going to ask you, what is your mood and color? So, what is your mood?
My mood is like, I'm slightly getting hungry, and so nothing's worse than a gay guy that is mildly irritated. I read that in a meme, and I said, you know, it's true. Like, if I told you this yesterday, I always have in my backpack, like, everything I will ever need. Usually I have like a snacks, I have sunblocks so the heat doesn't get too crazy, I have jackets, sweatshirts, everything, sunglasses. I don't want irritation or inconvenience. So I think that I'm like slightly inconvenienced here. So after, I'm going to beg you for food.
Okay.
I'm about to say that. And also my color is... Well, the first thing that came to my mind is magenta, but that's just too much right now. So I want to say like a dark charred wood.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's deep. My mood is... I don't know. I'm always on a constant wave of just being chill and calm. It's my natural state, so I'll go with that. And
okay.
My color, dirty yellow.
Like piss. The piss that you leave in the toilet
That's
overnight.
That sounds like your personal problems.
I conserve water. I'm eco-friendly. Thank you.
That is great. Eco-friendliness all around. We have to care about our carbon footprint.
It's true.
But anyways, that's another topic for another time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be diving in today's topic. So as Reuben mentioned, he has been traveling. So can you mention where you have been?
So let me just get one thing straight. I'm not a pretentious prick who loves to go abroad. This is my first year outside of, I guess, North America and the Caribbean. So my first time in Europe. So I did a lot of things for the first time. For example, I arrived in Paris. I lived in Bordeaux for a bit, which is just the start of the south of France. It's kind of like the new Paris. I like to think of it as a version of Montreal. Then I moved to the south of France, Bayonne. And in Bayonne, it was in the Pays Basque, so they have a very southern culture. And then I went on a few vacations, like, for example, I went to Barcelona, I went to Milan, Berlin, Warsaw, Brussels, London, Oxford, and Cardiff.
Okay, that's a lot of places.
Yeah.
That's interesting. The only places that I've been is in New York, St. Vincent, and Barbados.
It's not bad. Some people have never fucking left, like, the Durham region, or Montreal, or Oshawa.
Shots fired. Speaking from personal experiences.
Rude.
So, since you traveled all of those countries, what is the lesson that you have learned? Is there any common theme between all of those places, or?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me take on my jacket. Like I said, dress in layers. If you're too hot, you can fix it. Okay. Jacket off. Ready. People are all the same, and that can be comforting, and it's kind of sad too. So, going around the world is, even people, sometimes we have, for example, I speak French, there's two non-native French speakers who are communicating with each other. There are people that are speaking to you in a broken English, but at the heart of what they're saying is their personality, and, people are evil and people are good, and, while I love France, I don't think French people are better than Canadians, and I don't think Canadians are better than French people. I think really throughout this experience is that, we all have our own human experience and our own struggles, but at the heart of everything, we're human. So no matter if you live across the ocean, speaking a different language, in a different socioeconomic standing or status, there's a lot we can learn, and there's a lot we can relate to.
Very true, very true. So you went to Paris for how long?
Paris wasn't that long. It was like 5 days. It was the first place I touched down in. Amazing as it was.
What was the first thing that you noticed, or stand out to you?
Well, just the accent. Living in Quebec, where everyone has this very nasally, strong accent, to kind of switch to a softer, at the time almost incomprehensible accent was interesting. And I've seen French media for the last few months. Before I had left, I was studying or listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, and the accent was something I saw through a screen, and now it had surrounded me. My friend Curtis said something before going to Europe or Paris. He said, everything is bigger. Well, I said, well, Canada is 16 times bigger than France. Toronto is geographically bigger than Paris. But the thing is, like, there's a grandeur to everything in Europe. There's, like, this immensity, this grandiose architecture that it doesn't exist in the New World, really, not at this level, not with this sort of heritage. So I think that's the first thing I noticed is, like, I call North American architecture cheap architecture in comparison. Mind you, I think cheap architecture is where everyone is going, but for the buildings that have stood for however long in these centuries, you see a quality and an attention to detail that I just never saw in
Mm-hmm.
my life. So I think that's what I noticed first, visually and sonically.
Okay. That's interesting, yeah. I noticed that just living in Montreal and then moving here to Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
just how like the scenery and the architecture changed as well. Like Montreal is still in Canada, but I feel like they architecture, like the way they build stuff is they try to emulate European style and try
Yeah.
to mix that in with the Canadian style a bit.
Yeah, because it's interesting. I mean, there is a unique Canadian culture where you have two different types of settlers coming to colonize Canada. You have first the French who came and colonized the East, so you can see it in Quebec City, you can see it in Montreal, and they brought their architecture. And the same thing for Toronto, you see sort of like an old English architecture. I think Montreal tries to stay true to that in closer to old Montreal if they have to renovate or rebuild. But it's interesting how visually our buildings and our architecture tells a story of our past.
Mm-hmm. Very true. So before leaving for Europe, um, were you anticipating something, or did you have an idea of how your experience in Europe would be compared to what you actually experienced?
Yeah, well, I was in a point in my life, I was in Quebec, and I started to get tired of living, but not living in Quebec, but I started to get tired of certain things. I had this idea of France, and we all do. I mean, living in the Western world, we think, in North America, we think that Paris is romantic and stylish, and London is like this. We see what we see in films, and that shapes our perceptions. So I thought going to France, everyone would be cultured. Sometimes Quebecois or even Canadians are portrayed, with sort of this like red plaid button-up shirt, and they like to chop wood. And to be honest, in Canada we don't have a rich culinary culture, and we don't have a rich architectural culture, not like Europe. So that's one thing I anticipated, was there to be more culture, and there was in a certain way. Like French culture is older. France is way older than Canada. They have a culture that has been here for centuries, and in all aspects. They have a ham culture. They have, each region has a culture, that's very much French, and their identity is very much French. However, some places, like in Bayonne or the surrounding area, they weren't really cultured in the new sense of the term, like cultured as to be worldwide cultured about things other people eat. For example, in Toronto, you can go down, get some pho, get some roti, Vietnamese sandwiches, Korean barbecue, sushi, like everything that you want to eat, you can pretty much find in Toronto. Even like a bigger city like Bordeaux, it's so rare to find some of these more cultured culinary dishes. So yes, they were more cultured. It's true they have a deeper French culture, but they weren't cultured in terms of worldwide cuisine and worldwide, even like what's going on outside of France, and I think that was interesting.
Mhm. Yeah. So, what were you doing in Bordeaux?
Well, I lived in Bordeaux for a total of almost 4 months out of the year. So I was on like just perma vacation for that time. I was giving some English courses on the side, but I was just hanging out, chilling with friends. I had my friend Thomas and Britt, and There was a good group there. In fact, all of my friends that I ever had in France were from Bordeaux. In Bayonne, I lived there, and just 30 kilometers from Bayonne, I was in Peyrade. In Peyrade, I taught English as an English assistant.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked mostly around Bayonne, and I vacationed in Bordeaux.
Okay. So, how was that experience? Like you moved, now you're in this like small little town outside of France, and you're teaching these teenagers. How was that experience, and how how you identify and you as a person? How was that? Did you have any conflicts, or was there positives, negative experiences?
I could honestly write a book, I swear. But to be concise as much as I could, being black, then gay, and black and gay was interesting. I mean, in Peyrade, it's a town of 3,000 people. They celebrate ham. They have a very French culture. And when I mean French culture is the most French you could possibly be, the most disconnected you could possibly be. There weren't a lot of just black kids in the school, maybe like less than the fingers on my hand. There were mostly mixed kids, so white and black. But there weren't many of them either, and there weren't many Arabs, so let's just say probably at least 95% white. And then you're talking about a region where homosexuality and things like, and diversity and, forget transsexuality and stuff like that. It's of course it exists, but it's ignored, it's hidden.
Mm-hmm.
So I came to this school, and your first impression is so coming in to the school, whether you're gay, trans, non-binary, bisexual, whatever you identify as, most of us have a self-defense mechanism around these types of conditions where you have a lot of closed-minded people, or what you might perceive to be closed-minded. And so at first I kind of like put on my straight, behavior, where
What is that?
it's just like I'm not completely myself, basically.
Okay.
I'm not gonna cross my legs a certain way, I'm not gonna do certain things, but that was just like for the first few days, just to scope it out, for my safety, I guess. Quickly, and as the months went by, it began to open up, and I even came out to a few students when it was asked the question, "Are you gay?" And very soon I just assumed my identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a trans student that came up to me, who, we communicate, like we had this kind of, how do you say, like a sort of like a secret understanding, and and I had a little conversation with him and saying, don't worry, like you're not alone, etc. There were gay students who came out to me, and just to show like this is one of the only times you're gonna see in their school a person of color in power, and then a gay person of color in power, as well as a black gay person of color in power. So for them, I knew this was a unique opportunity. I know this was a once in a lifetime opportunity for these kids until they go maybe to university or something, but still there's a representation problem in France. So I used every moment to sell a platform and not really go into class being like, gay pride, but to really be open and honest and transparent. And with the 17-year-olds, I would have discussions on words like faggot, or the N-word, especially hearing the word nigga all the time. from American media. French kids have picked it up because they don't understand the context. So educating them about the context that have moments like that. So yeah, it was hard because I felt like I had to represent two types of people, and I changed my hair once. I even got braids, and for me that's like whatever. I wouldn't care if I was in Montreal, and I didn't realize. But going to school, it was a social statement. It was definitely a statement. I was in the cafeteria.
A statement of what?
A statement of my sexuality, a statement of, I don't know, gender fluidity or femininity, guys being comfortable in their femininity. Because even if you're gay and you come out, there is a huge pressure here, but also in France, to be as straight as you can.
Mask for mask?
Yeah, mask for mask. They see things like, I want a man, not a man who thinks he's a woman, but just put this on my profile. So, yeah, my the hair that I put in, the braids, students asked me about it. They gave me their opinions. I did not ask for it, but they did. And it was a chance for a discussion. Although it was hard, because imagine going in a cafeteria, just walking through a cafeteria, and 400 students stop eating and they're just staring at you, and like to just walk while everyone's looking at you is hard. Even if they're, maybe they're 15 or 13, but it sucks. And when I went to Bayonne, I had the same thing, people staring at me. When I got my braids done in Bayonne, there were a group of teenagers, probably like 17 or 18, looking through the glass window, like pointing and laughing. Like the ignorance.
Damn. That is something else. That's why representation matters. And people just living their authentic life. Especially in small towns. Because when something out of the norm happens, or something they're not used to seeing all the time, especially teenagers, when something is different, it's like, let's make fun of that because that's not normal.
So I use these opportunities to educate and to discuss. I mean, I'm going to be 25 years old. These students ranged from 11 to 17. And the worst thing I can do is get angry and get really insecure about that. So I think that was important. And that was the hardest moment for me, because enduring high school all over again, but having to react differently, react in a mature manner, react in a manner that educates. It was hard. But at the end, the students that didn't feel alone, the queer students that didn't feel alone, the sort of representation that I offered was invaluable. And a lot of these students follow me on Instagram now, and I'm living my best gay life. And, we went on trips, and even the straight guys, like the straight jocks of the class, came up to me, asked me questions about being gay, or how does gay sex work, and obviously you keep it PG-13, but I appreciated their curiosity. And I responded, and they received it well. So I think that's a great advancement for the little boy straight world, for the teenage boy straight world in the south of France. They've never had an opportunity like this, and I learned from them, but it was hard being gay and black in the school and in the town. So let's talk about traveling instead of living. Traveling, I traveled by myself in Barcelona, so maybe some people might think I'm gay, but I didn't have any issues. I didn't go to any gay clubs or anything, but I had some Grindr experiences, and it was decent. No problems with Barcelona, Milan, big cities, right? Berlin. I think Berlin that's where I was the gayest I've ever been in my life.
Why? Did you feel safe?
I felt safe, and Berlin is very open-minded, and it's a very like young person sort of city. And I was in karaoke, like just a straight karaoke bar, and they had a stage. They had a fucking stage, like bigger than your bedroom. And I used that stage. I worked that stage. Like, I had Toxic by Britney Spears, and I was dancing, and I took off my shoes, and I was on the ground, and people loved it, and people came to the table, and I felt like that was my moment to just release all of that negative energy I was harboring in my spirit and body, and just, like, being tense from having experienced some uncomfortable moments. Like, in Bayan, off topic, I was, like, harassed in the bar for dancing. So that's an example. Like, I had a horrible time in Bayan being gay.
Mm-hmm.
But Berlin, like, freed me. Warsaw, I completely withdrew into myself. Warsaw is probably, it's in Poland, obviously, for those who don't know it, but they're pretty conservative there. It's still a big city, so it's not as bad as Bayan or anything, but the vibe, I just withdrew. Brussels, I was so free in Brussels. I was going out in the streets, like the gay clubs were lit, the gay clubs were on one, it was good energy, good vibes.
Did you go to any straight clubs or just gay clubs?
I think we went to a bar, a straight bar, but the gay bars are always more fun, to be honest, the straight bars. At least these ones were like the wholesome bars, you know, like they weren't really trashy. So I appreciated that. But I was in the street lining up for this bar with my girlfriends. Actually, like, I wouldn't even say that because I didn't even know these girls. I just met them at the hostel, but we were going to this gay club, and I don't know what it looks like inside because we lined up, and they kept letting groups of gay guys enter the bar. Just groups of gay guys. I was like, what the hell? So I'm like, one of the gay dudes out there, he's like older, he's like, hey, man, like, don't ditch those girls, like, come with us, they'll let you in for sure. So I'm like, wow, they're not letting them in because they're women? And then I was so drunk, I was on one, I started to get, like, belligerent, for sure. I was like, fuck you, basically, like, I was walking in the bar, and the dude has keys, the barman, I guess not the barman, the doorman, so I stole his keys, and I, like, threw them on the ground, and I'm like, fuck you,
Dramatic.
You can't even let, you know, like, women are the reason gay men exist, women are the reason gay men can be free. Like, how many of you, like, grew up with women who gave you a safe space and you can't even let them? And what if they're queer and they need a space too? And da-da-da. And I was, like, going off, and I was so pissed off. So I think that was the weirdest. I was not oppressed in that moment. Like, these people told me to ditch my friends, but in Brussels, I've never seen, like, such, I don't know what to call it, what's the word? Well, I guess you could just say sexism. Like, I get the point of the club is for gay guys to find gay guys, but I'm over that. Whoever's looking for love in a club, fuck it. It ain't gonna happen. First of all,
it's the club.
We're here to dance. Dance. Like, clubs should be for dancing. I don't know.
Have to have fun. You're just here to have fun. Like, if you're going to the club for a relationship, you gotta check your priorities.
Yeah, like, what the fuck do you want to find at a club? You want to get drunk, suck some dick? You can't even remember what they look like.
Or eat pussy.
Yeah, okay. I'm talking in my
I know.
gay boy context.
Since you have been, you've been away for quite some time, and then you've traveled, I know you probably have dabbled,
in Toronto dick?
No, not in Toronto dick.
Oh my God.
International dick.
International dick.
So, do you have, any tips for anybody that, that are traveling and, maybe they want to hook up or... how was your experience, and what advice would you share to people, or on how to be safe and all that good stuff?
Well, the sad thing is anything can happen, and every time you meet up with some random person, it's risky. I mean, for some of the trip I traveled with a travel partner, and I'd say, okay, I'm going out to this address, and if I don't come back before this time, and this is what his picture looks like, and this is his number, like I give all the details I possibly can. And beyond that, I share my active location. So if that's if you're traveling with someone, I mean, you can still share your location with other people in other countries, but I mean, that's if you're traveling with someone. Always carry a knife with you. No. Honestly, I want to. I feel like I should, but I think it's illegal.
It's not illegal.
To carry a knife?
A knife.
Like a pocket knife, you could, but like
a pocket knife. You can do so much with a pocket knife. What are you kidding me?
But what about like a hunter's knife? I don't know. Listen, I don't know Canadian or international law. So
what did you use to protect yourself?
My teeth. I didn't need to protect myself, thank God.
Okay.
But when I try not to go places like too drunk, so I know where I'm going, what apartment I'm going to, what the guy looks like, remembering things like that. I don't know, international travel, the thing is, when you hook up with people anywhere, it's a risk. You should always tell people where you're going. Even better, you should meet for coffee, meet for a drink. You should never meet them directly at your house. But I'm not the best person to ask for example because I've put myself in so many sketchy situations growing up. International travel, it's the same thing. It's the same thing when you're home. Meet people before you go to their house. That's it really, use a condom. Even if you're on PrEP, you can still get STIs. So use a condom.
Use it. Wrap your willy. Don't be silly.
Disgusting.
Yes.
Don't say willy.
Willy. So I want you to. So before we end the podcast, I want you to share.
And the podcast. This needs to be a 5-segment special.
Please.
The fuck?
You're not that special.
Wow.
So I want you to share, an experience. With an international dick experience. Something. Any sex stories?
Well, I had some when I went to Paris, it was cute. Imagine I had the most romantic thing happen to me. Well, it's not that romantic, but my life is pretty much void of true romance, so when it does happen in any form, I take it and I embrace it. So basically, I went to Paris, landed, went on Tinder or Grindr or something, met some dude, and I said, hey, do you want to show me around, take me to the gay district or whatever. So he took me, and when you're on vacation, there's one thing, when you're getting international dick, you have a reason to let go of your inhibitions, to go far, and to, because who's gonna judge you? They're not gonna see you again.
Okay.
So, international dick, but it's it ain't about the dick, it's about the accent. It's about I had to have sex in French, I don't have to, but I mean, it's
How is that? Having sex in French and
it's
between verses in English.
Okay, someone's gonna listen to this, it's gonna totally disturb them, but it's they say putain là.
What else do they say?
Just a lot of putain. Okay, I don't want to do it. I'm too shy. I'm a Virgo, guys. I'm a Virgo.
So that don't mean shit. That don't mean shit.
Y'all can't ask a Virgo to be moaning on fucking podcasts and shit. I ain't that type of Virgo, Beyonce. I don't have no Sasha Fierce. This is what you get. But yeah,
Gabrielle is your Sasha Fierce.
Oh yeah, I have a French synonym.
So do it in the spirit of Gabrielle.
Okay, I
You're not Reuben.
Mais non, je peux pas. Mais je lui dis qu'ils disent putain beaucoup. Oh putain. What? Oh, let me tell you about a sketch. I have the sketchiest thing. Okay. Wait, who's listening to this podcast? Is it marked 18 plus? And should I share it on my Instagram? Because I don't want these, but they can't even, because I have like students following me, but they can't even speak English, I guess for them.
So I don't know. There's gonna be no translation. So.
Okay. Well, it was one of my last weeks in Bordeaux, and I met this guy who was visiting from Paris, and you can probably imagine like 6 foot. I guess, you know, he's blonde, but not like Northern European blonde. A lot of them have this hair color. It's like a chestnut, like a chata. You know, like chata.
Yeah.
You know. So it's kind of like, I don't know. People might say dirty blonde, but it's a little bit darker. Anyways, he looks like a model. He's like so fit, and we're talking, and he's like, "Do you want to have a threesome?" I'm like, well, this could be interesting because why not?
When will you ever have that opportunity again?
Well, trust me, bitches ask.
Okay.
But I'm a Virgo.
I keep saying that, but it don't mean shit. If you want a threesome, you'll get it.
I just sipped water. Okay. Actually, it was like a foursome because these two guys. Anyways, so they sent me a picture of these two guys. One of them, Elio, call me by your name. Oh my god, he looks just like Elio. He was beautiful as fuck. Okay, the microphone's here. He was so beautiful. The other guy was like 30 something. That's fine because, you know, that's not too far from my age now. But he was like, you know, in those pornos where they're like on a budget and like it's still a porn studio, but it's like the ones that after you tried like the top 30 ones and you can't get into, you go to like this one. Mm-hmm. Because like they just needed any dick. It was kind of like that, like very, very average looking, like slightly chubby, like just like the epitome of a 5 out of 10. Listen, I sound very superficial on this podcast, but we're talking about hookups. So I don't care about like fucking personality when I'm just looking for D. So don't think I'm superficial, guys, because I'm not, first of all. So I was like, okay, well, 2 out of 3 are hot. The third one. Mm-hmm. But then I'm like worrying, I'm like, what if no one shows him attention and he feels left out? Because I'm a good person at the end of the day.
I'm a good person.
I'm a good person.
I care about people's
feelings. I do. So, is this the most explicit podcast?
It's not. There was more. If you watched.
Oh, I will.
You don't.
I will. Trust me. Okay. So I'm walking to this guy's house. I get to this guy's house, the first guy that I messaged with, the, like, Parisian. So, I go in his apartment, and beautiful apartment. Studio, everything's renovated, the whole wall is window.
Luxurious.
It's luxurious. And that makes me hot. I don't care about anything else. But when you have a good apartment and it's clean and shit, I was like, damn. So he was like just out of the shower. He was in his underwear, and then he like grabbed my junk, and I grabbed his junk, and we started kissing for 3 seconds, and we stopped. Then we said, okay, we should go. So we're walking, we're talking. He's in finance. Sorry, finance is so boring, and like in France, they're always pushed to be like boring and square. So that's the thing. They're also beautiful, but a lot of them have just cardboard personalities.
Because when you're beautiful, you don't have to rely on your personality.
True.
So yeah.
True. So we're walking to this guy's house. Okay, so we get there. Well, first of all, we had no condoms. And they're like, no problem, we're on PrEP, no problem.
Red flag, red flag!
Like, it's a red flag, but then everyone's doing that these days, so like the flag has lost its color.
Damn.
You know? But still, I would never. I always use a condom. So I said, okay, we need to find a condom. So thank God for France. They're kind of dumb with the administration. They're slow and annoying, but they do have vending machines outside of pharmacies that sell the essentials. Pads, condoms, everything. So you just go to the outside of a pharmacy because it was closed and we buy some condoms. So I'm like, okay, it's safe. We go there. Now this little cute idiot is in his underwear and it's like 25 degrees outside in the apartment. Like they don't have air conditioning and shit, and he's like freezing. He enters the door like, come downstairs. So we go downstairs. I'm like, this, in my head, I'm like, he's not acting like right. So I go downstairs and this is what hell looks like for your 70-year-old religious grandma. Gay hell. I call it gay hell. In the basement, unfinished basement. Look, with like a dirty mattress on the floor and a night table from like 1970s with like, I don't know, like lube and like shit and like different like, I don't know, like smoking apparatuses and all these different types of stuff, like very dirty. And then on the floor to my right is like, you know those little puzzle foam things you put down for puzzle foam mats? They're like, they look like puzzles and they can like fit into each other. And you put it down like in a daycare for your kid who's like 4 years old.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. They had like 2 of those, like kind of dirty looking. And a bunch of dildos of varying sizes were set out on display. And then you had like, you know, like probably, you know, 12 inches. Like, we're not even talking about a normal dick size. We're talking about like abnormally large. Like, they had to like stretch their anus for, I don't know, 3 months to be able to take it. Metal ones, rubber ones, all type of ones. So, I look at the guy I was with, and we're like clean, okay? Like, we're not very, like, I don't know him, but we're not like that, to be honest. So I'm not like that. Like, the fuck, I don't even own a dildo. I'm just so Virgo. So we're looking at it, we're giving each other eyes, like, okay, this is sketchy, I'm sketched. And then he asked the dude, because the dudes are in the corner and they're like smoking something, and he's like, what is that? They're like, oh, KMDV, or like some kind of fucking code name. I'm like, the fuck? Excuse me. What is this? Never heard of it. It's some sort of derivative of crystal meth or some shit after when I researched it. So the guy's like, I'm gonna leave. I'm like, yeah, me too. Thank God for him, because usually I can't say no in uncomfortable situations, but I get the fuck out of there. And it was so sad because, like, really, like, this little boy, well, he's probably like 23, is lost in this drugged out gay hell. Like, probably sitting there in the dark, in the middle of summer, it's beautiful out, you know, sitting there in this dark, dingy basement with, like, 30-inch dildos stretching his asshole. And I felt so bad, like, drugged out. Mm-hmm. But no, that's really what it was. Like, I'm like, felt so bad for him. And so I went back with this dude, and then we just fucked. And it was clean, it was on a bed, it was beautiful. And I left.
So, at the end of my podcast, I asked my guests what is an awkward moment they have had in the past, in present.
Besides going to gay hell and escaping alive.
That part. So, it's called Queer Awkward Moments. So, you can share with the audience an awkward moment that has happened.
Oh, well, you want the most recent? Yesterday, I was so fucking high with you, and then we, like, almost missed the stop to get off to go to Corey's house. And then I was high and, like, tripping, like, literally and, like, what's the other word?
Physically?
No, it's, like, no, I know it, I just forgot. Okay, so, like, literally and figuratively, okay? So, I'm like, oh my god, because you exited the bus, like, before me and the doors are closing. So I fucking run and I, like, smash on these girls, like, her feet, like, 2 times. Like, I'm, like, walking on her feet to get out. And she gives me the dirtiest look. And I felt like I was so high and self-conscious. I'm like, oh my god. I get out of the bus and like, I stepped on a girl's feet. But I felt awkward because I looked her in the eye and was like, I was too high to say sorry. Like, I just fucking dashed out of the bus. But yeah, I guess that was my awkward moment.
Yeah, that really is disrespectful. I feel that girl. She had the right to give you that look.
Yeah, because imagine if some teenager, because I look like a teenager, fucking stepped on my foot. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, say sorry. Then I'd be going off on in the bus. So I'm like, don't say anything. And she was black. I'm like, please, like, I know you're gonna say something, but don't say something. But that look was enough.
It's enough.
It's enough.
Was it a woman, a guy?
It was a woman.
Yeah, black.
With
black
natural
woman?
hair. With
Yeah.
natural hair.
That one stare is enough. Let me tell you, that stare it shooks you to the core and
It
brings you
does.
back to your childhood.
It took the high right out of me. The holy high just came out.
That's today's episode. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It was great.
Thank
So you can catch the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, TuneIn, Stitcher.
Also very important, follow me on Instagram, REUBENN. That's right, under Wholesome Gays Club. Thank you.
Okay, on that note, thank you for joining us. And I know this episode is long, but deal with it. Until next time, stay awkward.
Bye.